In this segment, we're going to look at yet another way that the sonata cycle is used. Now remember, I told you this was a very important form and we're going to see a lot of it. So in this segment, we're going to look at the sonata as a genre. We've had the sonata cycle, which is a formal structure, a form. So this is the sonata, which uses the sonata cycle, but it's not the sonata cycle. So that can be kind of confusing. So what's a sonata? A sonata is a sounding piece, the sonar part of that. So something that's sounded, so it's instrumental music. And it actually has two ways it can play out. One is that it could be a sonata for an instrument like piano or guitar or harpsichord or organ, anything that can actually play multiple pitches and therefore can play its own harmony. So we might have a piano sonata, in which case that would be just a piano player. That's it. We might also have a sonata that would be for one of those instruments that I just mentioned, plus some other single line instrument, an instrument that only plays one note at a time. So we might have a clarinet sonata, which would be for clarinet and piano or harpsichord or whatever instrument they choose to do there. So that's what distinguishes a sonata from a concerto, where you would have an orchestra as the accompaniment for the soloist. So as we saw in the concerto, that was 3 movements, fast, slow, fast. We've had the symphony, which has the 4 movements of the whole sonata cycle. The sonata genre is not nearly as prescribed. They may use all 4 movements of the cycle. They may use 3. They may only use 2. So it's not nearly as easy to say, okay, as a sonata, I know this is what's going to be happening. So if you go to a recital and it says sonata and there's only 2 movements, then you'll just know that that was one of those times the composer decided they only wanted to have 2 movements. And the piece that we're going to listen to is an example of that. We're going to listen to a sonata by Beethoven. And this is his Cello Sonata number 2 in G minor. That title tells us a lot of information. So this piece is for cello, and the performance that we're going to watch is by Yo-Yo Ma, who is the, I guess most people would say he's the best living cellist. So, and Emanuel Ax is our pianist, who is one of the great pianists of our time as well. So we've got 2 really terrific performers to watch. So in this piece, there are 2 movements, but the way that Beethoven has structured it, it really functions almost like 3, and in the video is actually divided into 3 parts. So the opening movement is actually 2 parts. It has a slow part first, which is sort of not what we expect when we talk about a sonata. We expect that fast thing to happen first. But instead, we've got the cello, which is this beautiful lyrical instrument anyway, that Beethoven is just going to let you enjoy the beauty of that cello sound with the piano for a pretty good while for the introduction. And then it will go into the Allegro section that we expect, and you can start to follow along and work with the ideas of the sonata Allegro form. So you have that as the first movement that sort of feels like 2. And then we have a second movement that is a rondo. So that'll be an opportunity for you to identify that A theme that keeps coming back over and over again in our rondo and listening for the things that happen in between. All right, so now I'd like you to go and listen to this wonderful performance by Yo-Yo Ma and Emanuel Ax of Beethoven's Cello Sonata number 2 in G minor, and just enjoy the beauty of the cello, which is such a wonderful instrument, and this delightful performance by 2 of the great musicians of our time.